We're back to the Toljication Celebrity Show on the Toljication Network again. TotalTutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor. Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Total Tutor. And always when we have NFL stars on the program, I really enjoy it. And I was a huge fan of the Eagles when Fred played for them. Randall Cunningham I've had on the show, and that was one of my favorite tandems for sure. So I want to welcome the program, former Philadelphia Eagle, Pro Bowler Fred Barnett. Fred, how are you?
Great. How are you? Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. It's always fun when it starts to warm up after we dealt with such cold weather, both of us, and knowing living in Philly and Pittsburgh, how it's just been a rough winter, ready for spring, I'm sure, and I'm sure you are as well.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. I think everybody's ready for spring.
Absolutely. Okay, so, Fred, tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get right into talking about life after football.
Oh, gosh, a little bit about me. I'm actually born and raised in Mississippi, and very fortunate to get one scholarship to Arkansas State and play 4 years there and go on to play in the NFL for 8 years. There at Arkansas State, did pretty well, I guess good enough to be a third-round draft choice, being a wide receiver in a wishbone offense. So after getting drafted to the Philadelphia Eagles, played with the Eagles for 6 years, and went on to the Dolphins as a free agent, played there for 2 years. And actually one of the greatest experiences I've, ever had, with just, being around NFL players. Some players, interestingly, that I watched when I was in college and even in high school, getting to play with guys like Reggie White, Jerome Brown, and even playing against guys that I had watched and admired. It was just kind of surreal for me, just being out on the field. But I managed to make a pretty good adjustment on the field, and had the athletic ability to play at the NFL level and even go to the Pro Bowl. So it was a great experience for me, as I mentioned, and it's something that I'm very fond of. I oftentimes get my daughters. I have twin daughters that are 13. I have a young son that's 2. Have them. I actually make them watch my film. They don't want to watch me play football. although they one of them is a pretty good athlete. She's a lacrosse player and a volleyball player, and she's actually on the varsity team as an 8th grader. So it's pretty encouraging just to kind of see her do her thing and just kind of make me reminisce as I was a young kid growing up playing football in the backyard. But after retiring, I opened a couple of businesses, and I was kind of fortunate to be able to be focused on what I wanted to do. I had my ups and downs as far as starting a business, having to just kind of refocus and shut down a business, start a business. So it's been a very interesting life after football. As I mentioned, I'm very fortunate. I have a lovely wife and 3 kids, and life has been pretty positive for me. I've been on the side of being supportive of retired players in terms of concussion case and publicity rights case, and so it's been a very, very, very busy retirement for me, but it's been a joyous one. Okay,
so Fred, we'll jump back into life after football. I mean, once the cheering stopped and you had to go ahead and get into a career, you're in a phase that's a little different than your brethren in the 80s. They had the money started getting a little bit better, not to the point of what it is today, but you were in a transition phase in the way contracts are developed and people are starting to make a little bit more money. So more and more it became, there was not time for off-season businesses and stuff like that. Were you in that process as a lot of the guys I've interviewed in the 80s that had that like even Leonard Marshall did, Andy Russell did, many people in the 70s, that Rocky Bleier, that had a process that said, okay, I know what I'm going to do after football when you were playing?
You know what? I had an idea. I hadn't really mapped out a process yet because, interestingly, that's a great question, a great statement, because I think a lot of times there are a number of guys who, their retirement comes by surprise. And it was to some degree that way with me. I knew exactly that I wanted to do some business. I wanted to, have some stores or do something with my money. But I think that I wanted to play a little longer, but after just kind of taking a few days after I got released by the Dolphins to think about it, I was mentally drained. I was physically drained, and I made a decision to go ahead and retire. I actually got an offer from another team to come and try out, but I was just mentally and physically drained, and it took probably about a year for me to just kind of regroup and refocus, and ended up actually opening up 3 small chain stores there in the Fort Lauderdale Western area. But that's a very interesting comment that you made, because as we go through all these different lawsuits, the claims that players have, as you know, we got players who have retired just yesterday, and you got players like myself, and you got players from the 70s and the 80s. The interesting thing about it is that we all have a different perspective, because actually the NFL was different when we all played. So you got guys from the 70s and the 80s that are looking at guys from the 90s and wondering why they think the way they think. Well, they played for a different NFL. It was the same NFL, but the mindset was totally different. I mean, there are guys who are playing right now who are not going to see things the way I see them, and it's basically us having a different experience with the NFL, which is, of course, relative to us all.
And I have a feeling where we're going to go. It was very interesting. Leonard touched upon a lot with the head injuries, and I know we're going to get to that for sure. I just am kind of learning about you and that process of starting businesses, because you were a Pro Bowler that played for a very good team, the Eagles. You had that celebrity status. So when you retired, you had some money, and then you got people with handouts. And that's one of the things that's probably hardest with these athletes are they come with all this money or some money, and then they want to say, what do I do next? And then they find somebody, as we all know in business, we talk to people and they're like, I wouldn't want to do business with them. But a lot of these guys aren't educated to that fact. Hey, I'll give him my money. Hey, I'll let him run everything, and I can continue to live that athletics lifestyle. And what happens is you got to be so much more hands-on, and it becomes a process. So your first couple businesses, were you a good enough business mind to handle this responsibility of changing from being told what to do, where to show up, to you run the show in a lot of ways, Fred?
Well, I was fortunate to have some good upbringing in Mississippi, so it was to some degree a challenge for me, just getting up in the morning and making sure the register matched, the money and everything. So, and because it was a cash business, I had to be there every morning. I had to be there at the end of the day, making sure everything was tight. So it was somewhat of a challenge for me, but I managed to hire some good managers, and since then I've of course moved on. But when I first started it, having 3 stores, running around to 3 stores was worse than getting hit on the field, to tell you the truth.
Because, I was going to say, Fred, that you talked about your upbringing. It doesn't matter, we all come understand as workers how to be a worker, how to, carry that punch a clock, or, in the football field, show up certain things, get to your desk job. When you're an entrepreneur, you are in complete control. You're the head coach. Yes. You're the general manager. I think that's hard for any athlete. That's hard for anybody when they first become an entrepreneur in so many ways.
It depends on if it's in you. But one thing that I am sure about myself is that I'm a leader, and I can motivate. And the only thing that I need to have in place is to know for sure that what I'm teaching and what I'm motivating is something that I stand for and believe in. And if I believe in it, I can get you to believe in it. And that was something that I think really, pushed me to run these stores successfully before I left Florida. So, as you mentioned that, everybody's not meant to be a leader. Everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur, which is why we have, our workforce, which is why, we have people working at, doing small jobs or doing jobs that are not as quote unquote significant as others. But there are some guys out there, and even there's some NFL players who have businesses, and they're running their business, and they are in there every day.
Yes.
And the things that they don't know, they're seeking out information and finding out exactly how to run their business better.
And a lot of times, Fred, you learn from your coaches how to be a leader. In a way, the coaches that you've had in your career, from college to high school to the pros, they're such great mentors, from the assistants to whatever. You learn leadership as a football player, and you learn about structure and order, because these things need to be done in a business. You got to run a business the same way as you run a sports a team. It's got to be a team atmosphere. There's got to be a leader, but there's also got to be people that are able to take on their roles.
I'll tell you what, that's a great comment, because I often give tribute to my coaching staff at Arkansas State, led by Larry Lacewell. Those guys really were just a cornerstone for me. My father did a great job in raising me, but there's some things that those guys taught me. Here I am 18, 19 years old, and away from home. And these guys taught me so much. And it carried right into being on the field with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, there are times when I actually told one of my coaches about a month ago. I remember the time when I was a rookie with the Eagles, and we're just kind of going through a walkthrough, and I'm kind of almost full speed, and everybody's looking at me like, why are you full speed? It's just a walkthrough. But I left Arkansas State with the mindset that I had to be the best, every time, and I think that's what's really pushed me to be the player that I was. And you can actually, and what I actually did is I actually transferred that from the field into the things that I needed to do off the field. So it had brought me this far, I can say.
Well, I absolutely take and attribute a lot, and Fred, you'll kind of laugh, and we're going to take a break from that. I was a pro wrestler for 9 years in the minor leagues, but I learned a lot about promotion through wrestling and being the star. This is like the WWE I'm talking about. And I had that persona, and I learned how to promote myself as the big 7-foot giant, and watched wrestling promoters. And that's how I've been able in business to promote myself. Self-promotion, such a key component. So when we get back, we're going to talk more of Fred Barnett from the Philadelphia Eagles, Pro Bowler, and much, much more, going into he leaves Florida. What's his next career step, and what is he doing currently today? You're listening to the Toldjication Celebrity Show on the Toldjication Network, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're back to the Toldjication Celebrity Show on the Toldjication Network. Again, ToldTutor.net for more information. Twitter, ToldTutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, and also Instagram, Total Tutor. And I'm with Pro Bowler Fred Barnett from the Philadelphia Eagles, and enjoying the conversation as he talks about as an entrepreneur. And Fred, it kind of reminds me of another athlete that I interviewed, Bill Cartwright from the Chicago Bulls, and he talked about how he wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning to have a successful business. And a lot of times you guys get this rap that you don't have a work ethic. You just know how to do the sport. So if you change titles, you can't handle it. And that goes back to even when we look at African Americans as coaches and general managers. They look at this and say, well, you were just an athlete. How could you run this type of organization? So it's very good to see the entrepreneurship and the ability to move on to much greater things from football and show that leadership, because it's a great role model, especially in the community as well, to show, hey, I'm not just an athlete. I'm much more, and I had the athletic ability, but I learned everything in my brain to be successful in life. And that's what football led to your life experiences, didn't it, Fred?
Exactly. And unfortunately, I think there are some players, there's a demographic of players out there who can't make the transition.
Yes,
and
there's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah,
I think a lot of people in the general public kind of sees that and thinks that, it kind of smears on other athletes as well. But, as you mentioned, there's some guys who can make the transition, who are smart enough and who are focused enough to make a very positive transition for themselves.
So you decide to leave Florida. What's the reason to go back to Pennsylvania? Or if I'm right on your career path.
Well,
yeah.
Actually, I was in Memphis for a bit,
okay.
For a couple of years, and didn't stay there long. Came right up to Philadelphia after a couple of years, and from that point, actually, I'm pretty fond of fashion, so I decided to start a fashion line. So I started a clothing line. I did a little traveling to Italy. I had a tie maker in Lake Como that I would visit each year, and had some fabric coming out of London, and that was pretty exciting because it allowed me to travel a little bit, allowed me to see the world, and just kind of open my mind up and just understand that the bubble of football and what's around the fame and the fortune, it's just in my circle. Life was more than that. So that's kind of opened my mind up a little bit, and after that, after running a clothing line for about a couple of years, I started doing some work with the Eagles. I wasn't on staff, but I was helping out with doing different appearances and different events that they had, and it kind of bled right into where I am right now. And it dates me right where I am right now, and that is connected with the company that I'm involved with right now.
All right, so we can go right to that, and there's the reason for the radio interview, but it really gave us a good story of who you are, Fred, as a person, life after football. And the reason I'm speaking of this, and we're hearing so many professional athletes that just absolutely have lost everything after, and they've made far more money than you made, Fred, because of how financially things have changed, and they just couldn't handle it. And athletes just literally fall apart. And it was very interesting. Leonard Marshall I interviewed earlier this week, and he talked about some of the reasons. One is that you guys don't have health care for a long period of time. You're used to a certain, and it's hard to insure you. There's so many different things that make it difficult in that transition. So where are you at now, Fred? Tell us where you're at.
Well, there are some difficult things that make it hard, and unfortunately, as we hear about some of the stories, I mean, I've just recently heard about a few stories this past year of some players that I know that are have made bad decisions, that have been, in financial predicaments that have made them, make a decision that embarrass the league, embarrass themselves, embarrass their families, or what have you. So, it's very unfortunate. But for what I'm doing now is interesting. I'm the director of sports for a company called QMe. It's myqme.com. It's the first social media site designed to reward the user, anywhere from small businesses, business professionals, entertainers, athletes, socialites. It's a social media platform, and as you use the platform and connect with people, you get paid for doing that. And as a director of sports, it's my job to help the ex-athletes give a new definition or a new direction to transitioning. As we just mentioned, there are quite a few athletes that are making very harsh decisions. And to tell you the truth, there's some guys who make good decisions. I think they just kind of connected with the wrong people.
Yes.
So those guys have to rebound. I mean, I've made decisions to do things with my money and got burned. It wasn't on the scale of some other players, but now I think they have the NFL now has departments in place where now we can do background checks. I mean, you meet a guy, he wants to help you out, he wants you to invest some money. You can pick up the phone and say, hey, I want a background check on this guy. And we can get that, and NFL can do that for us. But my job is to, take the players to another level, get them to understand that they have value in the marketplace. I mean, and how to execute that plan to experience that value by leveraging the relationships they built while they were playing. I can remember after retirement going back to the stadium and just doing some stuff for the Eagles, meeting all these business people that I had met when I played, and there was really no way to leverage the relationship we had. I could go. How many times can I go to their warehouse and sign autographs? Only a few times, and they don't want to see me walking through the door every other weekend.
Exactly.
But our platform allows me as an athlete, who has some notoriety still in this area, to promote on my on my profile for companies. There are a few small companies here that I have relationships with, and with me having a following, I could promote their business, their service, their products, or what have you, to my following.
That's fantastic. And I'm sorry to interrupt because I want to sell this for you, Fred. I mean, you and I have to talk off air because of the connections I have with a lot of athletes in all areas to see how they could benefit in those cities for themselves. Because I think this is one thing I've talked about before. There are only certain people who have capitalized, Fred, of that 10%, I'd say, in all professional sports, after football, after basketball, after whatever sport, and used their celebrity status to help continue to fund them, to continue to have a salary, continue to make money, residual income, while the others didn't allow that and didn't keep that brand going and wanted to forget about, because you're a brand, Fred Barnett. That's always, you will always remember. Exactly. I mean, honestly, some of the older players are worth more for me on a radio interview than the current players, because people have memories, and again, it's the age group that watched you play. That's the group that invests. That's the group of business. I mean, it's a fantastic idea, Fred. I'm just amazed about it.
Well, we're very excited. The one unfortunate thing about it is it's such a psychological topic for players, because if you think about players, say about a player who played 10, 15 years, he's gone all that time in the pros and all that time in college getting a direct response. And that is, I have a play, I get a play, I execute that play, there's a response. Either I'm successful or I'm not. I'm successful or not. Season after season after season. And now we get off the field, we're retired, and now we have to make a play. Well, a business play doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
Now you have to understand process. Now you have to understand putting a team together. Now you have to understand networking. Now you have to go out and shake hands. Now you have to go out and find help in different areas to do that. And I think a lot of guys get kind of frustrated and impatient because they have great ideas. I think they have, things that they could do, but it doesn't happen fast enough. And guys kind of get, resorting to making, as I mentioned, bad decisions, what have you. But to say the least, that I think our website will do a lot for retired athletes and even current athletes. There's some current athletes who are doing it a different way. They have a name. I mean, we got all these social media platforms going, And so they have a following. So there's some guys who have products now. They have T-shirts,
Yes.
they have caps. They have different products that they will be able to sell on QME. Just a little bit more about our site, if I may. There, we have an area that's a store, and for players that have any products that they want to push or sell to the public, they'll be able to do that right from their platform.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
And this is all sports. I mean, it's not just football, and this is all sports. And as you mentioned, guys don't realize that they have value.
They truly do.
Some guys walk away from the game and they just disappear, and you don't know where they are.
They don't want to talk to anyone, Fred. I reach out to people all the time. I tried to get Mary Lou Loretton on the show. Mary Lou publicist declined, saying she doesn't do any more media. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. They don't get that they're a brand that can continue to make residual income for life because of what they created on the field.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
And I don't know if you have any pro wrestlers, but that's another definite genre that retired, that have a platform and don't utilize it right either. They were stars in WWE or WCW or ECW, and they're just basically hitting minor league after minor league trying to sell their hats and shirts and different things. And the Olympians, my gosh, Fred, they have a following, yet they kind of go to obscurity as well because they don't know how to brand themselves. That's really
exactly. Yeah, my QME is designed just to do that, and we launched a few days ago, and we're very excited. We're very excited to get some players involved. I have a database of about 8,000 players, so we're going to be reaching out to those players in the next few days and getting everybody on board, and getting companies on board and getting socialites on board and making it happen.
Well,
one other thing about our website is that although it's a social media site, we're not in competition of Facebook, the Twitters, and the LinkedIn. The one thing about our site is that you can connect your social through QME. So whatever you post on QME, if you connect it goes right to Facebook. So it behooves you as someone who's on Facebook and have a following to connect that social, because it connects. If you got, say, 5,000 people on Facebook, 5,000 on LinkedIn, 5,000 on Twitter, well, that means you have 15,000 on QME because you're bringing all those people together.
See that?
So we're very excited about it.
I'm excited about it, and I hope that you and I can have some conversations off air. I mean, I interview athletes all the time, and I know you have a huge database, but I'd love to connect you to other athletes as well. And
I would love to. That'd be great.
We definitely have to have a conversation. That's the whole business part of the show as well, in a lot of ways, is because I see that by myself having this platform of this radio network, it's all about creating relationships. You help grow your business, but you also get other entrepreneurial opportunities, and that's what's so great about interviewing people about their brand. I love selling them about that. So Fred, basically, let's just say I am not an athlete. Well, I am an athlete, but if I was a business, my company Total Tutor said I want to connect in the Pittsburgh area with some of the big stars to start promoting my tutoring company. What do I do as the business to be connected to those athletes? Is that part of how the social media works?
Well, what you do is, first of all, you go on, you create a profile, and once you create a profile, you'll be able to find people who have signed up, that are interested in what you're promoting. And just, I guess, to explain it, when I sign up, there are different things that I check off that I'm interested in. And when I check off certain things that I'm interested in, when companies come on, they'll be able to find exactly the people that are interested in what the things that they're promoting. So you'll be able to reach out to your demographic, the bullseye demographic, to those people who are interested in what you want now and what you want to sell. Now, with that, you will be able to reward those users for telling other people about the products that you have, about the services that you have. So that takes it actually to another level.
Well, there's definitely, we need to have you back on, Fred, and then maybe have some of your other athletes that you've signed up to the platform that had success. And I'd love to have you on to do that, and you could be on with that athlete, and we could promote what they're doing. So I want this to be a continual thing. So I'll reach out to your publicist, but I'll also get your contact information so we can continue this conversation. So stay on the line after I say goodbye. But where can we find information on you, Fred? You have the website for the company, but you probably have some other places where people can find you as well, right, Fred?
Yes. Well, if you can find me at myqme.com. I'm there. I'm ready to answer any questions. Do any appearances, or just socialize. If you go to myqme.com and sign up, you can find me there.
Well, I think it's a fantastic idea, Fred, and I would say this would be a great idea to go to the Shark Tank with as well, because because I think this is just something that people love athletes. They're heroes of them, and a lot of them just go to obscurity. And you're like, what are they promoting? They're missing out. And I think that this is a platform to help businesses find people to promote their products, and also for athletes to make residual income based on their star status. Great idea, Fred. Good talking to you. And they're going to connect to you that website. So take care, and we're going to talk soon. Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right. You're listening to Told Education Celebrity Show on the Told Education Network, and we'll be back in just a moment.